So, from my personal point of view, what happened on September 21st, when Putin announced mobilization, was of much greater importance for the Russian society. It was much greater game changer for the society than the declaration of special military operation or the war against Ukraine on February 24th. Because for years, what the Kremlin message was to the people was that, of course, you are now not supposed to participate in politics, as it was, for example, in the 90s, but you are wealthy and you are secure. So we care about the economic development, and we care about, the anti-terrorist operations. There is no war, and so Russia is standing out of its knees. So everything is secured. And what happened on the September 21st destroyed all these myths, because overnight it became obvious that you can be taken in the street and brought to a military camp and then dispatched to Ukrainian front, and maybe wounded or killed soon thereafter. And there is no any kind of precision why some of the people can be mobilized, why others cannot be. The military authorities are actually behaving themselves in quite arbitrary way. And nevertheless, it's also obvious that the economy will suffer a lot, because according to my very preliminary estimates, every tenth of male in the age between 18 and 50 can be mobilized. So this means that economy will lose a lot of workforce, and even more people will try to escape and try to hide somewhere. In the first week of mobilization efforts, around 300,000 people actually quit Russia for traveling for Georgia, for other visa-free destinations like Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Armenia, even storming the border with Finland. Anyway, the economy is losing a lot of workforce. The second point, which is also very important, is that immediately thereafter, the government started to talk about increasing taxes, rising taxes, and as far as we know, the Kremlin, the Minister of Finance, wants to rise up around 2 trillion rubles next year from the big infrastructure companies, oil, gas, metal processing, fertilizers. And moreover, they want to increase by around 15% to the current level as the social security payments. So all the entrepreneurs will pay more for these efforts, because, of course, since the army is growing, the war will become more costly. And this is just the beginning. I think even more quite significant economic troubles will follow. But anyway, for the people, the most important thing is the personal insecurity. Because when it came only for 10% inflation, or decrease in quality of life, or of real disposable incomes, it's absolutely secondary to the feeling of personal security. You cannot, appear in the street, because in the underground, on your workplace, the people can approach you and saying that you should be mobilized. You are less than 35 years old. You have served in the Russian army 50 years ago, and so that's it. Just take your belongings, and we are going to the military camp. So this is unprecedented personal insecurity, which is absolutely well perceived, understood felt by society, that you are now insecure. Yeah, what happened to Nord Stream 2 and actually to Nord Stream 1 as well? Because there were 3 explosions, presumably, one on Nord Stream 2 and 2 on Nord Stream 1. This is an unprecedented situation. First, when I heard this, I believed it might be an accident without any kind of personal involvement. Because first, what I read about this was information that this part of Nord Stream 2 was laid down by the Russian-owned ship called Fortune, and this created for me a first thought about some kind of just mismanagement when the pipe was laid down. But when it came to another 2 explosions, I think one can be absolutely sure that this was a kind of sabotage or direct interference like that cause explosions. Who may be responsible? It's a good question. From my point of view, the only side, the only party which could be interested in this was the Russians, because this actually finalizes the discussions about Siemens, about sanctions, why the turbines were not supplied, and whatsoever. So now it's obvious that till next spring, maybe March or April, it's out of the question that the pipeline can be once again brought into operation. So as Putin wished, to press the Europeans harder and harder in the wake of presumably cold winter. So this is achieved actually. What for it might be done, I would say that the rationale for this may consist of the idea that if there is no traffic of gas through the Baltic Sea, and if the Europeans still need the gas, the only possible route is now via Ukraine. So maybe Putin thought that the Europeans will press the Ukrainians to make some concessions to Russia, because we Europeans need the gas supply, and this is the only feasible, chance to get it. It might be like this. I don't know actually. Nobody knows, because definitely it should be investigation which will take quite a lot of time for finding out what happened. But nevertheless, I cannot imagine that the Europeans were interested in it, because they were also the investors of the project. I doubt that Ukrainians were able to do this, because they don't have submarines in the Baltic Sea. So therefore, I think that the Russians who operated the thing, they had much more opportunities to cause this effect. What for? Once again, I'm not sure, but I would be surprised if there was a sabotage organized by someone else except Russians.